shout out to Bandana G and Sarisha CJ. Thanks for subscribing to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for regular uploads and your chance to be included in shout outs for future videos. Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we got the lovely Kerry Pearson over from Heirloom Body Care here with us today to have a chat. Hi Kerry, how are you going?
Hello George, I'm well thank you, and yourself?
I'm very well, thanks. I just wanted to say up front, thank you very much for agreeing to be a part of the Soap Makers Lounge.
Pleasure, good to see you.
We've been trying to organise this since, I think, September last year, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I had a lot going on and I wasn't sure what I could commit to. So
that's fine, yes. So thanks. I was willing to wait because I really wanted to get a Australian supplier on board, and I want people to see what goes on behind a supplier in the workings of, soap and candle supplies, and how that might affect the soap maker. So I thought it's just a really good way to kind of branch out into something new, and I'm really, really happy that you decided to be a part of the lounge. So thanks once again.
No problem.
And I just wanted to ask straight up, so whereabouts, are you located, in Sydney?
We're in Penrith, so we're in the western suburbs, sort of at the base of the Blue Mountains.
All right, yes, right. And I think from what I've gathered from you in the past, that you actually started soap making as a hobby originally?
Yeah.
And how long were you kind of soap making for?
Probably 20 years now, 25 roughly.
Right. And what actually got you started, into soap making? What was the initial thing that sparked the interest and sparked you actually making your first few batches?
My husband kept bees.
Right.
We ended up with a lot of beeswax. It's like, what are we going to do with all this beeswax?
Right.
And he said, well, why don't you make soap?
Right.
Not everybody's go-to, but so the internet was quite new at that point. The people next door had it, went up there. I think I printed out, I probably should have replaced a ream of paper for them, just printed out all these recipes and how-tos and all that kind of stuff, and there the addiction began.
So you call it an addiction as well?
Oh, definitely.
I call it the soap bug, or the soap illness, or the soap bug. Wow, okay. And did you realize quickly that when you're making soap, you were using a really small amount of beeswax?
I realized after I got to try my first batch of soap with beeswax that I didn't really like beeswax in soap.
Okay. What was the reason behind that? Is it because it traced fast and it moved quick?
Yeah, look, because the feel of it, I probably used too much in my first batch and I never really went back, but I followed a recipe and it was draggy. It was just didn't quite have the right feel to it. It was low lather.
Okay. Right. Interesting. Oh yeah, I've never used beeswax in soap, so I don't even I don't even know what it feels like. Actually, I have used soap with beeswax before, but I love it okay. I don't know. I
think if you use the right amount, if you use a very small amount of beeswax, it's fine. But I believe I didn't.
Oh, I see. Right. I think it's 0.5%. I think you're supposed to use or something.
I think I went with 2.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah. Because it would have significantly made the bar really hard. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Did you start selling your soap after you started making it? Obviously, were you selling the soap that you were making?
I after a good while of practice and getting it sorted, went to a website and markets and did start selling. Got a few wholesale customers, so was churning that out in the house. Just needed something to keep my sanity. I had 3 small children at the time, and my days at the markets, husband would take the kids, and I'd get to talk to people.
Right. Yeah.
It was quite the novelty talking to people who could walk back. Weren't talking about dirty nappies and games you play and all that kind of thing, and where to get the
so it was a good escape,
bits and pieces. So it was a normality fix for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And just quickly, like, do you still make soap for yourself? Like, is it something that you still kind of do for yourself for personal use? Like,
I do as required. Obviously, I don't make the same quantity of soap. I tend to, I do all the fragrance and colour testing here. So you tend to end up with the leftovers that you scrape out of the jug. I tend to end up with the mismatched bars or the scrape outs of the pot, put it into a mould, see what that turns out like. It's a new version of blending. Yeah, this is how you do fragrance blending on a different scale.
Yeah, wow, that's good. Well, I guess that'll be beneficial for you when you kind of when you display on your website, when you're buying certain inputs. I guess that testing that you do kind of enables you to provide information for customers.
Yes, we try and provide as much information we possibly can. And if people want, if we get an inquiry after certain characteristics, we try and add that into all the products where we can get that data. So,
wow, that's great.
It's constantly in flux. I mean, people never used to care about the vanillin content of their fragrances, and now they do. So we've tried to get that data and get that uploaded, so they've got that information if they want it.
Wow. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, that's really good. I guess it's an advantage for you because you are a soap maker and you know how to make soap, and it's not difficult for you to actually test and provide that information.
No. It's I've sort of got a day set aside each week that I try and do the testing and get that sorted.
Yeah.
Got some to evaluate this afternoon, and I've got a bunch that are just sitting on the shelf curing, waiting to do their time. We do not get a very high success rate out of our fragrances. For every 10 that we test, I might get 2 that actually make the grade. So I test a lot.
Wow. I did not know that. See, that's great to know. Like, I did not know. That's obviously what goes behind when you're doing fragrance blends and when you're testing fragrance oils out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, wow. Okay, interesting.
A lot of them just, they might rise, they accelerate. Yeah. Sometimes if the colour just is not congruent with the fragrance name, something that in your mind is light and fluffy and white, and it turns out dark chocolate brown, smells amazing.
Yeah.
Unless you completely changed the name, you just would not associate that name with that colour. So we try not to go that way.
Yeah, interesting, very interesting. And what was the point in time, like obviously, you making soap, you wholesaling, you kind of selling your soap. What was the point in time that made you want to become like a distributor, like a business, a soap supplier, candle supplier? What was the spark and what made you start? Like
it sort of fell in my lap. There was a small supplier who wasn't too far from me. I think she was in St Clair. Mm-hmm. Might have been St Mary's. But she was doing what we do on a very small scale, and I would go to her and get my bits and pieces. And she decided she was moving to Queensland and was changing career paths, packing up the family, and off she went. So she was looking to sell her micro business, which my sister and I took on.
Right.
And just started changing the way things were done, trying to update, improve, got the website going, and started just working out what we were doing.
Right, okay.
And grew it from there. So it started off very, very small.
Yeah.
And it's not so small anymore. So
yes, I know. It's really grown to be really, I think, from judging by like other soap makers and just on the top of my head, and everyone I know that orders like soap and candle supplies, that everyone orders at least a portion of what they use from Heirloom Body Care. So I can safely assume that Heirloom is in the top 5 Australian suppliers.
Brilliant. I like that information.
Like really, because everybody knows Heirloom Body Care. I don't think there's a soap maker or a candle maker that I've come across that doesn't know or that doesn't order from Heirloom Body Care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you kind of have some sort of inkling because of the amount of orders you probably receive.
I don't know how many people make soaps and candles, though. I know how many people I know where our reach is. I just do not know how many people we're not reaching. So
yes, right, fair enough. And what were some of the challenges like when you started Heirloom Body Care?
When we started getting our name out there, becoming one of those suppliers that people would go to was hard. The initial, I didn't have any marketing experience, neither did my sister, so we just got in, hard slog. It was initially run from my house.
Right.
That has, your family, challenges as well. You got boxes up the hallway. The kids learn to hurdle by running down the hallway and jumping over boxes. They're up the attic, so you're carrying massive boxes up, lightweight stuff up into the attic, up a ladder because we didn't have stairs in yet.
Yeah.
So different challenges. After we got out of the house, we went and built a shed. We're on acreage, so we built a shed, the largest the council would allow, up in the back corner and worked through that. So we, being backing onto the bush, we also had rats, snakes, floods.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, we had all the bits and pieces that the wildlife has to offer. There's we're in an area that does also have bushfire prone capabilities. Just those kinds of things. Just getting suppliers to recognise us. We were too small for some to even contemplate.
Yeah.
Getting couriers to pick up. I used to have a station wagon, load all the parcels in the back of the station wagon and head up to the post office on a daily basis.
Wow.
Till we finally managed to talk them into coming in and picking up our goods.
Yeah.
Eventually some of the couriers that were dropping off supplies to us went, I'm coming here to drop things off. Why don't I sign you up and we can pick up while we're here? So
saves them coming back later. Yeah.
So little by little we got there, but those challenges did face us to start with, but we managed to muddle our way through that.
And when did you actually start Heirloom Body Care? Like what year did you start?
2003.
Okay, right. So that's like really before social media and like smartphones and these technologies that we have now. So you would have, well, that's another thing I'll ask too, like when smartphones and social media and all these things came out, was that a hard transition?
No, not really. You just learn to get along with it and do what you could.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. What challenges has Heirloom been facing since the pandemic started? And I can imagine the list would be just...
I'm thinking that, we haven't got 3 days is enough time, is it? I mean, when the pandemic first started out, everybody went absolutely crazy for anything. Soap, hand sanitizer. We were flat out trying to get ingredients and to get parcels out the door because people were panicking and they were panic buying. Yeah. So there were a lot of people who would take whatever they could get and wipe us out of products that we were having trouble getting in. We still have supply problems today because of all the people who are out of the loop because they've got the virus. So truck drivers are down, people offloading things at the wharf are reduced in number. There's the ship transport issues overseas. I mean, we've had a boat of soap on order for 6 months, not the whole boat, but we've had it ready to go for 6 months and we can't get it. It's just been sent out from Los Angeles port. They're turning around, they're going back in again. It actually got on the boat, but it hasn't actually made its way this way. It's just a nightmare trying to get things. Some of our products, the shipping companies are taking the highest bidder to be able to get products on the boats.
Right.
Because space is so limited. Then there's the container issues. There's been a container shortage. So you've got a spot, but you haven't got a container to put it in. It's just, it's been horrendous with the way some of these places are impacted.
Yeah. Well, and see that could directly, I know, like even for me personally, I struggled for a while just to get basic raw materials for my soap making. Yeah. there were a period of times where I couldn't get my hands on any, and I just didn't have any soap to make, and it really affected my business. And I'm sure everyone else it would have affected too. It wasn't just me. And yeah, like I hope that just doesn't happen again. It's starting to get better, but yeah, like for a good while, it was really hard, really hard to navigate through all that craziness. And I remember I ordered, I think 10 litres of perfumer's alcohol from you back in, I think it was 2020, probably, I would say August or September. And I had to like stalk your website like every day. And then as soon as I seen it available for pickup, I ordered 2. And then I came and picked it up. And that was what you had to do. That's what soap makers had to do. We had to really be on our supplier's website and, email in and just be really persistent in when things come back in stock.
Yeah. Well, during that time, I was making lists of people who were contacting us saying, I want, for example, the perfumer's alcohol.
Yeah.
And I just started a list of people that I would get back to once we actually had stock so that they knew they could jump on and get it, because obviously if everybody's out, they need that product and they will move forward with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. It's been crazy ride, that's for sure. That's for sure. And like, because you're a supplier, so like with these shortages and these major delays, has that affected pricing? So you having to adjust pricing and what to sell at, price point for customers, has that affected Heirloom at all?
Well, look, we have had to raise some prices. We've tried to hold things where we've got a bit of wiggle room. Some of the products that we've got, we do not have wiggle room, and we've had to put those prices up, or the jump was just so massive it couldn't be contained. So we've tried to keep things down where we can, but there are those products that just had to have that change.
Right. And would you say, like, I'm sure it's the same like with me, and I'm really small scale compared to like Heirloom Body Care, but I found there were periods of time where I would be bringing in a lot of income, and then all of a sudden there'll be times where it's just so quiet. Did Heirloom at all face those things, or was it more so relating to stock issues? Like, were there really quiet times for Heirloom?
Oh, definitely. It's quite quiet at the moment for us. But I mean, just after Christmas, it usually is, just not as quiet as it is at the moment.
Right.
I mean, the upside of that is people who are putting orders in, they're getting out the same day. We're just got really fast turnaround.
Yes.
And we're managing to get that working for the customer to their advantage. We get it out the same day. The couriers are sometimes a little bit held back because of their staffing numbers once again. But we're trying to do the best we can. We're trying to stock the shelves so that when the boom hits, we're ready for it.
Yeah.
To use that time effectively to prepare for going forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say, I don't think there's ever been a time I've ordered from Heirloom Body Care that it hasn't been either shipped out the same day or the next day, even I'm sure during your busy times. So I would like to point that out. So people that are in Australia, they've always been very, very speedy in getting my order out to me. And, of course, it helps me because I'm in the same city. I usually get it within 24 to 48 hours. So I think you're doing a fabulous job, even through the pandemic, getting soap supplies to us. Soap makers. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Everybody needs their sanity fix, right?
Yes, they do, absolutely. And in terms of soap makers, we need our addiction fix.
Yes, very much so.
Okay, right. What are some things you want customers to know, whether existing Heirloom Body Care customers or potential customers? What's some of the things you would want them to know in terms of behind the scenes? Is there anything that you kind of want to express that you probably generally won't be able to express?
Our team is amazing. They really do go the extra mile. They try very hard to get everything out every day.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very proud of the people we've got on board. And I don't get to tell the customer that very often. So the opportunity to actually sing their praises is fabulous because they've been working so hard, especially through Christmas. It gets hard work. It gets very, very hard. They're diligent people and they get the job done, which is awesome.
Yeah. And that's one thing I can attest to. Anytime I've reached out for inquiries, there's always been a response very quick. And usually, actually, we were talking about this before we started rolling the camera. I was praising Kerry because she's still very much involved in the daily activities of her business, of Heirloom Body Care. And generally when I reach out with a question, Kerry's the one that responds, and usually within a few hours. So I would like to point that out too, that if you actually reach out to Heirloom, more likely than not, you'll have Kerry respond to you. And the times where I've actually rung and the receptionist has answered, I'm sorry, I forgot her name, but it's been the same receptionist for a while, I believe, and she's always been very helpful, and she'll I'll ring you back, with the answer within 20 minutes or half an hour, and she's always gotten back to me very quick. So that's one thing I would like to point out as well. And once again, thanks for being a reliable supplier, because without reliable suppliers, soap and candle makers can't function properly.
It becomes a bit difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, really. And what does a typical day look like at Heirloom Body Care? So if I was to come and spend the day with Kerry Pearson at Heirloom Body Care, what would be, and I was to help out, what would be in the day? Yeah.
Well, it depends which part you want to be a part of. I mean, we've got a young lady who starts at 6 o'clock every morning and starts picking the orders, so that when the packers come in at around 8 o'clock, those orders start getting packed, and then they get booked and sent out the door. But I mean, the picker will pick an order, but they're not allowed to pack it. We do have sort of double ups because everybody knows the stock. So the person who picks the order has to put it on the shelf for somebody else to check off, so that we just have double check that there's no errors made.
Yeah,
they'll then wrap the parcel as much as we can in recyclable materials, and they'll be packed in a box or in the satchel so that they can be sent out, and they'll go out in the warehouse on a trolley ready to be picked up. We'll have people offloading trucks with forklift whizzing around trying to get all that sorted and packed away so that it's safe and well.
Yeah.
We've got people who will be packing stock down. If you buy in a 200-litre drum, we don't sell too many of those. So, you've got to get it down into the 100 ml bottles or something along those lines. Yeah. So there's people packing down. There's people measuring things. Boxes flying everywhere, just trying to get things organised. There'll be people answering phones, emails, making sure that things are booked.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So there's a lot going on at any given time.
Yeah, I can imagine. And even as I pointed out before, for small businesses, small soap makers like me, handmade businesses, we experience that. And because it's just me, we're doing organic, so it can get overwhelming, but I can just imagine how much more overwhelming it can get for a supplier. And you needing to have staff to help you, because you wouldn't be able to manage that on your own, given the demand. And from what you said before, would you agree with the statement of you wouldn't be able to do all the things you do without your incredible staff?
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's too much going on.
Yeah, there's too much going on, right. And would you say good staff is an asset to Heirloom?
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, as I thought. Of course, you need good staff, you need good people you can rely on, and as a soap maker myself, buying essential oils or certain carrier oils, that efficiency flows down to people that actually buy from you, and it's really important to have availability and it's getting to you as quickly as possible.
For sure.
Yeah. Right. So since I mentioned before, like Heirloom is one of the top 5 Australian suppliers. Do you sometimes, when you sit down, like at the end of the day, or when you're unwinding, do you sometimes have to pinch yourself? Like, do you reminisce of all those times that have passed, and you're like, "Wow, I can't believe I'm here"? Do you ever have those moments?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Especially when I sit down and I hear people talking about the business that, for me, it's still a little, still little, but when you look at it, you go, oh, it was.
Yeah.
But I can remember the days where, you used to get $600 a week in, and you were happy about that.
Yeah.
You were going for that 1,000 a week because it was just such a slow growth process. But I still remember those and haven't moved my mindset terribly much from needing to address the needs of the customer. When people have something that they want, you try and help them. You try and make that go forward. So you do the research that is required to make them happy, to get them what they need.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to that a little, because in terms of me, like, starting a YouTube channel it's been about, I think, 14 months now. And I still, like, when I get emails or messages on social media, oh, we love your videos, or, we watched this video, or we love how you did this, that. I still get shocked. Like, I'm still not used to, I'm like, what video are they talking about? I'm like, oh, what do you mean they're like this soap, or, and I still have to think about, I'm like, oh gosh, like, I'm still not used to the platform and the reach. And I assume, like, do you experience that as well? You're not, like, sometimes when you get inquiries, or do you still have to like, wow, like, I can't believe Heirloom is supplying to other small businesses? Do you have those moments as well?
Supplying to small businesses is what we've always done. In fact, I was thinking about where our niche market is, and it is the small businesses. Once people get to a certain growth point, they don't need the smaller volumes that we deal with.
Yeah, right.
So they're going to the bigger suppliers.
Yeah.
And that's their journey. That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
But for the people who can't buy a pallet of whatever they need, we still have our place. I mean, I've got different companies contacting me wanting to know if I export, if I'm into exporting, and I'm looking at it and going, these products are, in the scheme of things, they're fairly cheap. The shipping is going to kill it. People don't want to buy from Indonesia, because and pay $80 shipping for a couple of kilos. It's just it's not something that's going to be doable. So you need to keep it real. You need to keep to your market and make sure that you're doing the best thing you can for that market. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's very true. The shipping, especially since the GFC back in, I think it was, I can't remember when it was exactly, but early 2000s. I found that when I was, as a consumer, when I was buying just random stuff from overseas, like the States or, Europe or UK, and the shipping would be like $20, which is not too bad. But then after the GFC, they put tariffs on everything, and then they wanted to keep kind of their money inside their countries and kind of encourage people to buy inside. And then all of a sudden the shipping for a small item went from $20 to $60 or $70. And it's just insane. So I understand that on small scales especially. And is that something I would imagine that when you're bringing in supplies from overseas, is that something that you face, like really expensive freight charges?
Definitely.
Yeah.
One of my suppliers sent me a chart the other day where the pallets, or the container that he was bringing in, used to cost him, I think it was $600 per unit to bring in.
Yeah.
And now it's $3,200 for the same unit.
Oh gosh.
So that explains the increase in the product costs that we're all facing, because the shipping companies are throwing a lot of extras on to cover the trade that they're not getting. So
Yes.
making sure that they've got us over a barrel, really.
Yeah. Wow. And it's unfair a little because all these tariffs are kind of they're affecting the shipping companies and also like suppliers and small business as well. And I feel like the government should be doing a lot more than what they're currently doing in terms of all these tariffs, like importing and exporting taxes and all these unnecessary things put a lot of strain on Australian businesses. Yeah, whether big or small, it doesn't matter. And has that? How are you kind of working your way around all these issues? Like, what are some of the things that Heirloom Body Care does to ensure to give the customer the best price?
We have a couple of hundred suppliers on our books.
Oh, wow.
So we will inquire of several different possible suppliers to find who's got the product, what price is it, can somebody else do better.
Yeah.
Some products are non-negotiable. You have to get it from the one supplier because getting it from another one, you're getting a different product.
Yeah, right.
So you've got to sort of keep consistency with some, but you do need to sort of shop around, try and get the best you possibly can. Sometimes it's better to buy from overseas to skip those middlemen, but then you are sometimes getting less than a container load, so the price is increased with your shipping. So you've got to do a lot of sums and try and work out what's the best way forward to get that good price for our people.
And would you say, like, Heirloom Body Care, where they buy in really large quantities, and would you say the reason it's necessary as well, like for small businesses to have suppliers like Heirloom Body Care, when you buy in really large quantities, that you can pass the savings on to your customer?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
To buy small quantities, it's just so much more expensive. You do have to watch out for shelf lives when you do buy large quantity. Do we have the market to be able to turn this over in the right time? If not, we do have to downsize our order just to make sure that we're not running that too close to the wire. So it's a bit of a balancing game. Sometimes we miss, and you will find things on our website that are marked as short date or out of date and seriously reduced. So that's always a bonus if somebody doesn't mind so much if that date is less. You can save a good dollar here and there.
Yeah.
We would like it to find a home is our eventual outcome. Otherwise, we've got to throw it out, and there's a wasted resource. So.
Yeah, that'd be a waste. Yeah, absolutely. And do you find, like, has there ever been, like, when you're shopping around for the best price, just so customers know, like, really what goes on behind the scenes, is there sometimes that you get, a really large amount of a product and it just doesn't meet your standards of quality?
Yes, that does happen occasionally.
Yeah.
We do try and sample where we can, but sometimes you think you're getting a certain product, and when it turns up, it's not what you thought.
Yeah, right.
To the point a few weeks ago where we bought in some just little glass jars. They were supposed to be a 5 ml jar. They're not the same size as the 5 ml jar we bought previously.
Oh,
they're their bigger brother. So we have to then go and change the details or find another way of expressing their difference. There's nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly good product, but they're not the product they were meant to be.
Yeah. And see, this is a really good, since talking about pricing and the quantities, it's really important. I think it's missed a lot. It's really important to buy from Australian suppliers, because that way you're giving the opportunity for the supplier to buy larger quantities. If you buy within Australia and you buy local, and in turn you're supporting your local supplier, and eventually it will flow on down the savings to the consumer. So it's important. I just feel like I just have to point that out. That's why it's really important to buy local.
Yeah.
Really important.
Ultimately, I look at what we do. We're supporting a bunch of families, and that gives them money to be able to go and spend in the community on other people's bits and pieces. So we're sort of spreading the love throughout the community by being able to help these families to be able to help other families.
Yes, absolutely. So there's sometimes, obviously, I can just imagine heirloom, like in your really busy times, like it must be a lot of pressure on you. How do you juggle work-life balance?
It's something I've struggled with.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken a while. I mean, I'll go home. I'll leave here, I'll go home, and I'll be straight on the computer to see if any inquiries came in after I left the office, just to make sure that nobody's left without an answer.
Yeah.
I'm now sort of trying to just do that once, maybe a couple of times through the night, and then go just sit and spend time doing stuff that isn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It was all encompassing for so many years. You kind of forgot to turn off. So I'm getting better at it, but try just to shut the computer, walk away, go spend time with the family, do some normal things, and it's going to be waiting for me when I get back.
Yeah, that's right. And has there been any, because I know for me personally there has been like mental health struggles and work-life balance struggles. Has there been like mental health struggles as well, like over the past few years, or like during really busy times? Has there been times where you felt the pressure on your chest, and was there any times of like anxiety or anything like that?
A lot of stress.
Yeah.
Not so much anxiety, but the stress of trying to get it all done.
Yeah.
Especially before we actually hired any people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to just continue to get that. We allowed ourselves 3 days to get orders out.
Yeah.
And if you didn't make those guidelines, it was extremely stressful. You're just trying to do it all. You're doing it many hours.
Mm-hmm.
And the family as well, that was harder because of the kids needing to be, I mean, I remember taking a notepad to swimming lessons and sitting there and having my phone diverted so I could take orders while I'm watching children do laps up and down the pool. It was just mixing it up, trying to get that work-life balance. But, a lot of juggling in the early days.
Yes, I can imagine. Especially being a mum with kids as well. Like, I can just imagine. And what would you say, like, just generally, just roughly, like, per month, how many orders Heirloom Body Care sends out?
Oh, per month, about 1,500 per month.
Oh, wow, that's insane. And it's just to give people an idea of, like, when they put in an order, how much Heirloom has to deal with, like in terms of inquiries and sending out orders. And it's more so like just to educate people on, just be a little patient, like if you don't get a response straight away or if things are a little delayed. And especially now there's a shortage of, courier drivers and there are major delays, just to be patient because it's not always in a supplier's hands. There's a lot of external factors that come into play when you are putting in an order for a supplier. And we've just covered shipping costs, buying in large quantities from overseas, bringing it in. And all these factors go into the pricing and availability and the speed of which you might get stuff. So I just thought it's just important to cover these things that we can face, and just to be patient, not to be so like, oh, why? Yeah. And I'm sure you have got tons of emails. Oh, why is it taking so long? What's going on? Like all these things.
Yeah, we have had a lot of, most people are lovely about it. They would like an answer, which is fair enough, and they're civil about it. You get the occasional people who, it's all your fault, which isn't really appreciated, or, don't give me that BS, I'm over it. And you think, it's not going away because you don't like it. We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So, we don't mind answering questions about timelines, all that kind of stuff. But we really appreciate it when people are kind about it.
Oh my gosh. And oh gosh, I just imagine, because we all have our bad days. Sometimes you feel like telling someone off.
That's when you think it's time for another cuppa, time to take a walk. I just need to step away for a minute.
Please imagine, because we're all human, so it's like, oh gosh, I really want to, but I'm going to walk away for a bit of calm down.
Absolutely, we're all guilty of it, aren't we? Really?
I can imagine. Oh gosh. So, has there been any like regulations or like laws that have really inhibited heirloom body care in with availability or with getting orders out and pickups and stuff? What like kind of regulations or limitations have you faced in the last 2 years, especially?
The Australian OH&S laws are very restrictive and prohibitive. I think eventually things are going to have to change. Manufacturing in this country doesn't really happen because of the laws that we've got.
Right.
My husband actually works in manufacturing, and they've just had a conference, and most of it was just on OH&S and all the laws around that and how restrictive they are, what has to happen. We've got the compliance to the rules and regulations, the new IFRA code that came out in February. So we've got to had to reevaluate all our fragrances, make sure they all meet the new standards. So we've had to reformulate a lot of stuff there. The strata rules for the units that we're in, and definitely those shortages. They've definitely held us back quite a bit.
Yeah, because that's a big thing. Actually, I've seen been mentioned a lot in videos I watch, like other soap makers, saying how they've had to reformulate a lot of their recipes because of the usage rates of fragrance oils in their soap recipes. So they will have to like reduce some from like 4% to 3% because now 3% is the limit. And it's good to hear that that's something you've also, well, not good to hear, but it's, reassuring that you've had to actually face the same issues that soap makers had to face in reevaluating. So that would have put a lot of administrative strain on Heirloom Body Care in that period of time, like I would imagine.
Definitely. It became all-encompassing. You just had to sit down and, get all these data sheets, go through. We've had to reorder some products, had to send some back that we stipulated had to meet certain criteria.
Right.
They didn't, and it was like, I can't use this. It's just not compliant. That was stipulated and it didn't make the grade. So we try and not put the suppliers in it where we can. We have one fragrance that we didn't realise wasn't compliant, accepted it. It's now listed as a candle fragrance only because it had like 0.39% skin usability.
Oh, wow.
And that's not going to work even in a bath bomb.
It's too small. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And that got a bad. We were not happy. But,
yes, I can imagine. What advice would you give, like, kind of since you transitioned from being a soap maker now into being a supplier, and you've kind of have an understanding of the big picture, the whole picture? What advice would you give to kind of other soap makers that are starting out?
A soap business needs to have a good understanding of the clientele that they're addressing. There's no point having a fabulous tallow-based recipe if you're targeting the vegan community. It's just not going to work. So you really do need to know your clients. You need to know who you're targeting, and work to their needs. Find out what your customers are looking for and go with that. You need to ensure you have good record keeping from day one, because trying to backtrack is really hard.
Yeah, it is.
You need to make, if you've got an issue, not just your supplies, but also your recipes. If you've got a problem with your soap, you need to be able to go, okay, what happened on this day? Why did this occur?
Yeah.
So you need those records so you can identify the problem. Otherwise, you're just going to keep going over the same ground. You're going to keep making a problem. So you need to be able to identify your problem.
Yeah.
You do need to cover off on your compliance with your labelling in particular. They're quite picky, and they do go around markets and what have you and pick people up on their labelling. So,
do they? Wow.
Oh yeah, I know a couple of people who've had a very lovely gentleman who gets to. What a great job! You get to go around the markets and look at soaps and candles and find out if everybody's sticking to the regulations. So, where possible, we do have data around that on the website if you care. If people need to know what they're doing.
Yeah. And actually, I'll ask you that question because on my labelling, or I hope I'm doing it right, I list my carrier oils. I just put like saponified, like organic coconut oil, and all the oils I use and everything I put in. Is that sufficient, or do I have to actually do the botanical name?
There are a couple of ways you can label, so that is one of them, but. Especially if you're exporting, you'll need the Inky name on there.
Yeah, right.
But some people like to be able to read English as well.
Yeah. Because that's what my thought behind it was. Of course, I'm very transparent in my ingredients list, but those Inkies, like when I as a consumer, when I pick up, before I started making my own soap, or even when I don't make my own moisturizer or anything like that, so I tend to buy those. And when I look at the Inky, and it's got all these long names for like coconut oil and olive oil, I find it annoying. Like I want to be able to just pick it up and go, okay, it's got coconut oil, it's got all these things. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, I'll buy that. Mm-hmm. That's like a big reason why I kind of labelled my soaps like that, because I want someone to pick it up really quick and be able to say, oh, okay, yeah, this is vegan, it's got nothing like I don't want to use in it. So it's good to know that I'm doing okay, because I was always wondering about. At the moment, I just started shipping to New Zealand. That's the only real country outside of Australia you can ship to doesn't cost an arm and a leg.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I might have to look at that up.
You might need to address their labels. Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Well, I'm hoping it's similar to Australia, considering they're my neighbour. They're our neighbours, so hopefully the regulations, they're probably the same. Well,
they also speak English. That's helpful. I think a lot of that is down to the people who speak another language, who need to have that point of reference that explains what these items are.
Yeah. Well, they speak English, and they're also a Commonwealth country. So I'm assuming that, because we're a Commonwealth country as well, that most of the laws are fairly similar. Yeah. Well, I hope.
I haven't looked into that, so good luck. I know England is also of the Commonwealth, and their rules and regulations are off the charts.
Oh, the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're part of the European Union, but now they've left. It'd be interesting to see if it changes, like if some of their regulations, because I've interviewed a lady from UK, and she's went into how difficult it is to sell soap, and each recipe you need to get approved, and it costs money. And I'm like, wow, and if you change like one little piece of information on the ingredients, you need to reapply for the certification. I'm like, oh my gosh, I change my ingredients so often, and labels and stuff. Like if I had to, each batch, like I might change the layout of it, and if I had to get certification for every change I've done, I'll go broke.
I think you'd stop changing. You'd stick to the one, because
I would stop changing.
Go there. It would be very boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able. It'll limit my creativity. I think anyone's creativity will kind of put you in a box.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's a bit, You know, I'm glad I live in Australia, that's for sure. And well, of course, you're the one answering most of the emails. So, like, what are the most, like, the top 5 questions that you get from new soap makers or even existing soap makers? Like, what are just the most common questions you receive as a supplier?
Questions regarding volume versus weight on some of the oils from people who don't understand specific gravity, and that a kilo of oil doesn't weigh, a litre of oil doesn't weigh a kilo because it's lighter, which is why oil floats on the water.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've got those. We get people who just don't understand there is that difference. And I mean, some of our products are labelled litres and some are labelled kilos.
Yes.
So that we can get it in the container.
Yeah.
We can't get a kilo of oil in a litre bottle. It doesn't fit. So
That's right. Yeah.
Nobody wants liquid oils in buckets. They leak too readily. So you don't want to go there.
Yeah.
People want to know why, their soap problems. They'll come to me, why is my soap cracking? Why have I got this circle in the middle of my soap? If you know what you're doing, you understand what these things mean. But, your beginners don't really understand what that's about. There's also, regarding pricing, essential oils. I can buy orange for this. Why is rose so this much money? Why can't I have them for the same price?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to go through the manufacturing process and how much of the raw materials are required.
Yeah. Yeah.
To make each of those products. Things like, size wick do I need for this product? Why is this not working as it should? So get a few of those kinds of questions.
Yeah, right. Well, it, I guess, works in your benefit because you are a soap maker. And, well, since you mentioned candles, you obviously made candles, like you're a candle maker as well?
Yeah.
Yeah? So, it'll be, I guess, a lot easier for you to answer those questions because there are some suppliers like I've reached out to in the past and they're like, oh, sorry, we don't know, we don't test these, or we don't know how they perform in soap, we don't make soap, or we only make soap, we don't make candles, we can't tell you how they perform, so you have to test them out yourself. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's really good that you can answer these questions and you actually do test, as you stated before. You test fragrances, you test colorants, you test all these things, and you let customers know how they'll behave or perform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a really good bonus for you that it works in your favour.
For sure. I mean, it's also helpful if somebody says, look, this happened when I used this, and you can go, well, it didn't when I did it. Time to go test that batch, find out if something's changed.
Yeah.
Or was it something have we got a problem with our oils? Do they have a problem with their method? You've got the opportunity to change and help people through problems, which is awesome.
What are, in terms of soap making, what are the most popular soap supplies you sell to soap makers?
Most popular is coconut oil, 100%. Yeah. So much coconut oil. Micas are also very, very popular, especially since we took over My Mica Obsession. That really boosted our mica turnover considerably.
Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
And then the third one would be our fragrances. They're starting to increase as people realise we are testing. We're trying to make them compliant. They're on the rise for sure.
Yeah. And this question I get, oh my gosh, I get this question quite a lot. So and I've asked you this as well. I know I have, but I just want viewers to know because I constantly get asked. Okay. Are micas natural?
Mica is natural.
Right.
Bright blue, pink, orange, yellow is not. The mica itself is a rock that is mined.
Yes.
And they adhere all these non-natural colours to it. So the finished product does not qualify as natural. Okay,
right. So would you say, I've gotten this question too, is mica just so they get a percentage, understanding of it, is it 70% natural? Is it 80% natural? What's roughly the percentage
No idea.
No idea?
I don't know how much rock to colour there is. You can't see the rock by the time it's finished, and it's too fine to actually cut it open and have a look. So I really don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm sure I will be, because I just got a couple of micas here I've been kind of playing around with, because I do want to introduce just a few bars that use fragrance oils and micas. I do want to keep my range like mostly aromatherapy and clays. So I will be trying out some micas. So I'm sure you will be getting some questions from me in the future. How much to use and all. Oh gosh, I thought I'd let you know in advance.
Okay, thank you for that.
And what other like soap supplies are really popular, like coconut oil micas? Of course, sodium hydroxide, I can assume.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can get that in the hardware store and that kind of thing. Yeah. So we have limited. I mean, sodium hydroxide is dangerous goods, so we are restricted on how to ship it, how much to ship it, how much you can put in a parcel before you have to pay exorbitant amounts for dangerous goods shipping. Yeah, so when you look at sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide on our website, we've got different boxes that you click depending on whether you're picking it up, in which case there's no shipping costs. You can get whatever you need. If you need it to go by post, we're restricted to 1 kilo per parcel. You can't do more than that, but they don't charge any extra. If you want more than that, it can go with Border Express, and they charge something like $60 dangerous goods delivery fee. So if you want 25 kilos, that's worth it. But if you want 2 kilos,
it's not worth it.
Do 2 different parcels and put a kilo in each, and it'll work that way.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. So the supplier of Heirloom Body Care, what is the things that you strive to achieve?
We try and keep our customers happy. We try and keep our employees happy.
Yeah.
It's important to me personally that the people who work here have that work-life balance that we discussed earlier. So they're able to bank hours and use them when they need them. We've got sort of flexible hours for their shifts. We just try and make their life very comfortable. We try and get our customers what they need. Where possible. Sometimes people come to me with some very weird ingredients, and if I can get a small quantity, I'm happy to buy it in for them. But sometimes I can't, but I'll try.
Yeah.
It's about people happiness, all people.
Yeah, absolutely. What would be the hardest supplies for you to source, like in terms of just being able to supply it to customers? What are the most difficult supplies you find that are hard to source?
At the moment, clays are nasty.
Really?
Yeah, the Australian clays.
Yeah.
There was one company that was doing the Australian clays.
Yeah.
And they no longer function. So anybody who does Australian clays at the moment does not want to grind it down to a lovely small particle size and put it in 25 kilo bags. They want to stick it in a B-double and dump it out at a site somewhere. So actually getting Australian clay at the moment, for building, for clay, for pottery.
I see what you mean. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I did not know that. I knew that they stopped doing reef red Australian clay, which is a shame because that's just such a beautiful clay to work with.
Yes.
So I guess that's hard to get in large quantities then, the Australian clays.
That will be whoever's got stock from before the company closed down.
Oh, gosh.
Some people, it's dirt. It's not going to go off. So anybody who managed to stockpile, knowing what was going to happen, would still have some of these products. But, I mean, you can get clay from overseas, but Australian clay has such a market.
Yeah. So I guess in future, like leading up to when stocks kind of sell out, it's going to be more difficult to obtain, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Well, then nobody's doing for cosmetics.
Wow. Wow.
These clays in Australia, it'll all be imported stuff.
Wow. Gee, that's a shame, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I've considered, I have contacts that deal with clays and what have you. All I need is a grinding facility. So next time I've got a couple of 100,000 spare, I might get myself a little pug mill or something and start grinding.
Yeah. Well, I think it probably would be profitable for you as well if you can.
Well, it's going to make a mess of the warehouse.
Oh, yeah, I know. I didn't. Oh, yeah, the debris. Yeah, well.
Dust.
Wood. Yeah, the dust. Yeah. That's true.
It would be unless I got a facility specially for it, it would just be a mess. So
you'd want lots of vents and suction up, so it can.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
You can imagine the roof and rain. That could be nasty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. I can just imagine. God, even when I scoop, a few scoops out, it goes everywhere. I can just imagine. You probably come out covered, multicolored by the end of the day.
Yeah. We get that with the micas already. We don't need to add clay. We sparkle. It's lovely to go to the shops after you've been dealing with the micas.
Oh yeah, a little sparkle. They think they probably were performing on stage or something. Oh gosh. And what else apart from clays? Like what other kind of raw materials that are really hard to source?
Oh, hard to source. A lot of the chemical side of things, not so much for soap. For soap, it's not too bad, but for people who want to do body washes and all that kind of thing, trying to find exactly the right material in the right size at the right price can be a challenge because there's limited suppliers in Australia. You don't really want to be bringing in 25 kilos from Japan because of the shipping costs that just make that nasty. So you're trying to find a supplier within Australia who will do a smallish quantity of some of these things. So that can definitely be challenging.
So you mean like surfactants? Is that what you mean?
Oh, surfactants, additives, extracts. Yeah. Those types of things.
Okay, right. All right, so I just want to thank you once again. We've reached the end. Thank you so much, Kerry, for agreeing to do this interview /chat.
My pleasure. It was good to be here.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much. And for viewers, just check the description below. There is a code that will be valid up until a certain amount of time. So just check out the links below. I've included links to Heirloom Body Care social websites, so Facebook, Instagram, and their website. So go on and definitely check those out. And the code will be listed next to the website area as well. And thank you very much for providing that code, Kerry. Very generous of you.
You're very welcome. I hope people can take advantage of it.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Thank you. And I guess we'll be chatting soon and be keeping in touch.
Okay, lovely. Look forward to it.
Thanks so much once again, and take care. And I guess it's almost lunchtime soon as well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm getting a little hungry actually. All righty. We'll keep in touch and you take care.
Okay, you too. Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.